Good afternoon, and depending on where you are, good morning. We're gonna wait another few more seconds and then we will get started. It looks like people are starting to roll in. All right, I think we're gonna get started. Good good afternoon or good morning again, depending on where you are, and welcome to today's webinar on Bill's AI Usability Simplifies Automation for Nonprofits. So today it's a very exciting topic. We're going to be talking about AI. We're going to talk about AP automations. Um, Next slide, please. So just a quick intro. I'm Bulin Tran. I'm a Senior VP of Financial Solutions here at JMT Consulting. I'm actually in the DC area, and if you know this area, you know this is a huge nonprofit hub. I spent my entire career serving and supporting nonprofits with their back office accounting operations, leveraging financial solutions. Various financial solutions, including ERP, different ERP solutions, as well as AP automations, timesheets, basically all financial solutions that supports nonprofit, accounting operations. And joining me today, we have a special guest, Jay Harden with Build. Jay, you want to just do a quick introduction?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Bullen. My name is Jay Harden. I'm in Lexington, Kentucky. So it's Derby week here. And um Louisville is off the whole week, but Lexington, we still work up until about Friday. But yeah, I've been an ERP consultant my whole life, and accountant by trade. Been with Bill for 3 years and actually a little bit more than that, and looking forward to talking through our solution, showing you a little bit about the solution and how we really help nonprofits. We work really closely with JMT, and just kind of talk about um, what we could provide in a lot of different aspects. AP is definitely one of them. AR, spending expense, things like that. So we'll talk through that. Really excited to be here.
Great, great. Next slide, please. So, really quick on in terms of housekeeping, if you have questions, please submit your questions in the question box on your control panel, and we will answer them, throughout the present. I will be taking a look at folks have questions, and we'll try to answer them. And today's presentation is recorded, and slides will be emailed to you following the webinar. Next slide, please. This is a CPE credited presentation, so to your participation today may earn you 1 CPE credit. To receive a CPE credit, you need to actively respond to polling questions, 3 out of the 4. Complete the survey that will pop up at the end of the webinar and stay on for the duration of the presentation. If you have technical issues, please indicate in the chat or email to the email address that's there provided. Next. So just a quick, just in a little bit information about who we are, JMT. As you can see, we are headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. There's just as a FYI, this is not where all of our clients are, but this is some of where our clients are. JMT was founded in 1991 to help nonprofits achieve their mission. We work exclusively with nonprofit organization. We serve over 2,000 nonprofits across the US and a few in Canada, supporting nonprofits' back accounting operations with financial systems and accounting services. Next slide, please. Just a quick summary of our services. We implement and support cloud-based ERP solutions such as Sage Intacct and MIP. We influence support budget management solutions as well. You see some of those solutions here to the right. We provide CAS services, which is client accounting and advisory services. Sometimes it's referred to as managed accounting services as well. We do provide accounting operational assessment work to clients. We assist with system integration. So if you are if you're on Sage Intacct and you need to integrate with other systems, we provide that types of services. And finally, we do support clients that need grant management. We provide that type of needs as well. All right, so since this is a CPE accredited presentation, I just want to quickly go through our learning objectives for today. We will review best practices for adapting to new financial systems. So we'll definitely be talking about adoptions. Explore how Bill leveraged AI to simplify not just AP, but AR and expense management processes and improves efficiencies. Learn how intuitive design and user-centric interfaces promote faster adoption of financial automation solutions. Next slide, please. All right, so we come across to our first polling question. If you just take a few seconds and just respond to this, what are you using today for AP automation? So it looks like we have a few options here. So you could be on paper check or essentially no automation. You could be using email for your workflow as part of your automation. You could be on bill, which is the topic that we'll be talking about today. In some of the ERP system, they do have some level of AP automation. So you could be using that. And lastly, not sure. So we're gonna wait a few seconds. Luke is gonna present the response to those questions. We'd love to hear where everyone is in terms from an AP automation, if we can. Give you a few more seconds. There it is. So it looks like majority are in the no automations, and we do have some folks that are on email. Hey, we do have some folks that are already on bill. That's great. Some are using the automation within the ERP, and then we have a few that are not sure. So that's great.
Yeah,
Good
I
to
take it
know.
not sure could also be other, but could also be an other type of solution there. So that's great.
Exactly. So very appropriate topic for today. So I'm going to hand the rest of the presentation to you, Jay.
Sure. And as we go through, Bulin's gonna ask questions if she sees something that she wants a little bit more detail on, or maybe some
Mhm.
perspective from her clients. Um, but Bill is the leader in AP automation. We've been around for 20 years, actually. So 20 years is a really long time to be in this space, right? And as things have changed over the course of technology, obviously with the introduction of AI, we continue to be forward looking in regards to how we can help serve our clients. um, we do that in a number of different ways. A lot of that is our integrations, right? With JMT, our integrations with Intact are really, really important to us. Also have some other integrations that you're seeing down there. We're CPA.com's official AP partner. We move, our CEO likes to say we move 1% of all GDP through the platform. We really are the kings of ACH. There's other payment methods inside of Bill, um, checks, virtual cards, ACH, international wires. But because we've been in the space so long and we have our own money transmitter license in all 50 states, we're not using a third party to help move that money. We have our own rails. And so it's really been the foundation of our product, because we have this ACH network, because we allow you to pay vendors electronically. It's where we move so much money throughout our platform. And then we do have 7.2 million vendors in our ACH network, right? So you could connect with vendors, sort of like a Facebook, right? Where you could connect with friends. That's what we've established really on the ACH vendor side. So those stats kind of just highlight our place in the industry. And really, when we set out in Bill 20 years ago, it was around this workflow. Sorry, Bulin, you have a
Yeah, I
question
do have
there?
a question. I do have a comment. If you can go back to the slide.
Sure.
These are amazing numbers, first of all.
Hmm.
But you mentioned you started this conversation by saying that Bill has started 20 years ago,
Yeah.
right? And just a couple of comments. Technology takes time to mature. It
Mhm.
really does. I mean, there is a maturity pattern to this, right? And so the 20 years, which when I hear that number, it means that that this solution is very mature, right? And
Mhm.
what does that mean from an end user's perspective? It means that you're going to get a lot of features in these systems, right? The Bill being been around for a long time, right? Is actually, I think, a great thing. It also means that they have a lot of investments, right, to put into resources, to put into leveraging today's technology like AI, which we're going to mention a little bit, which is
Mhm.
very new. I mean, it's not just with Bill looking at it, but all publishers are talking about AI. Can't, when I turn on the radio, all I hear is, AI, with different platforms and all. So I just wanted to make that as a comment because when we were looking at the polling questions, we saw that there was few of the folks that are joining us are using the AP automations in the ERP system, which is
Right.
great because a lot of them do have them. But I've always said that when you talk about the robustness and the features of the functionality that the AP automation provide, like Bill provides, it is always a far more than what an ERP solution
Hmm.
will offer because an AP solution ERP will give you certain amount, but
Right.
Bill, that's all you do. That's the
Right.
only thing you do is AP automation. So your focus is really on, this product, if that makes sense,
No, and you know what? I love getting into the weeds, which we're going to stay pretty high level. But when you think about a feature that describes exactly what you're talking about, if you think about 20 years ago, when I started in this space, the idea that a vendor would email you an invoice was new, right? Used to be a vendor always mailed you your invoices and, you process them that way. Around 20 years ago, I've been in the space for about 15. The idea that a vendor would send it to your email was relatively new, right? And Bill.com created this inbox idea where essentially a robot is monitoring that email address, grabbing the PDFs, capturing data off of them, and routing them to users. We were definitely the first or one of the first to do that, to introduce that 15, 20 years ago. Now that's old hat, right? Like everyone is getting emails. Everybody is getting bills emailed to you. Most organizations that we speak to have an email address devoted to accounts payable, which works really well with our system because they can get forwarded right in. And then our system can take a hold and really make you efficient. So, like, just that aspect of the AP lifecycle in regards to technology is a good kind of marker for what you're describing, Bulin, in regards to technology does evolve. First, it
Mhm.
was okay, just email them in. Then it was let's OCR them, and now it's let's use AI against them, right? Like that's the evolution of the technology there over the 20 years.
Yeah.
Perfect. And this is that workflow. And I actually even break this down into two sections, really. When you use Bill, we want to our whole reason for being in accounts payable is two reasons. eliminate data entry, and get documents, get bills into your accounting solution that are approved. That's these first two steps. How can we make you efficient in these first two steps? And how can we leverage technology to make you more efficient in these two steps? So when we're talking to nonprofits, um, many nonprofits, their volume on AP can be really high. Their AP staff can be really low, right? Whereas you talk to some other small businesses and they have a staff, but their volume isn't high. You see it a little bit more on nonprofits where their AP volume is a little bit larger than a small or medium-sized business. But again, their staffing is equivalent to, in some cases, a smaller business. And that's where we want to help leverage technology to make you really efficient. So that first part of capturing the documents that vendors are sending, I like to call it the inbound receipt of bills from vendors, is these first two steps, and then getting them approved correctly and pushed into the accounting solution. And then the second reason that bill exists is to make payments secure, fast, and cheaper, right? And that's that second part with reconciliation on top of it. So this four-step process here is what we're in business to help you, really. So that poll, Bulin, you mentioned a lot of people are using email, right? So vendors are sending bills in. And then from here, you're not even capturing the data really. You're then routing that email out for approvals via email. It's not auditable. When auditors come and ask you, you're having to pull up emails. You're having to say, "Yeah, this was approval," or you're printing the email out, printing the bill out and attaching the printed email out and filing that away, right? We definitely can make that so much easier. Um, and then again, moving on to the payment side.
I do have a question,
Hmm.
Jay, if you could talk a little bit about the risk, because
Hmm.
if you look at the bottom here, you've got four items here, paper intensive manual, and then you talk a little bit about risk and then uh, time consuming. Can you talk a little bit? Because I've always felt
Sure.
like, this is another area. Yes, we're going to be talking about, the efficiencies of having
Yeah,
these. That's why they exist, these systems, because they bring the efficiency. They also help you implement your policies as well, right?
absolutely.
So it basically automating the policy of the organization. But what about risk?
Sure. And and I'll tell a story that will scare people, right? And it's a real story that we've dealt with. But not to scare you. In regards to risk, you have risk in a couple ways. One, when you're writing these checks, the old school idea of check washing or checks being stolen and someone doing something with that, that is a risk that's been around for 50 years, right? And it's still happening, actually.
Yeah.
I do about 4 to 6 demos a day, and it's really surprising how often companies are still coming to us and saying, well, we had a check washed and things like that. I mean, that's number one. And we get rid of that immediately because of a lot of details. One, we're going to get them on ACH. We're going to get them on checks that we handle that your bank account's not exposed. Um, and that have positive pay already on them. Like just the check side is really a big risk when you're handwriting checks. But in regards to, you mentioned your policies, that's another aspect of where Bill can really implement. One, you'll be able to set up your workflow in Bill so that no bill can be paid unless it's approved and has a detailed audit trail where it physically cannot be paid. We have the ability to implement payment approvals that are sort of like a dual check signer, right?
Yeah.
We also do some KYCs on vendors. When you add their ACH information, we send a penny test deposit to those vendor bank accounts, verifying that it's a real bank account, that it can receive money, and then we do some KYC on the back end. And I tell you, the email piece is getting so crazy today, where your vendors' emails will get hacked, and they will send you an email telling you that they've changed their vendor bank information. and no one calls them. Whoever is in the system, maybe you're doing it at your bank, maybe you're doing it through the ERP system, and maybe you're doing it through Bill, and someone goes in there and changes the vendor's bank information without contacting them or anything like that. Well, within Bill, we have dual control that anytime a vendor bank information is changed, it requires multiple individuals to have eyes on it, right? Which then says, okay, this vendor's bank information has changed. Has anyone actually reached out to them? Which seems tedious that you'd have to call them, but with how much email can be hacked these days, and we've seen it, right? We've seen so many of our clients where vendors will email them requesting a from valid emails, not even like a random email, from a valid email from that vendor. And so again, when you have these policies in places and these dual controls and these approvals, it's going to make your process, one, more efficient, and two, much more secure, so that you avoid that risk of paying some random person.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So in regards to nonprofits, Bill really shines in the nonprofits, and this is kind of going to um, talk about what we've mentioned in regards to those lost checks, right? In regards to data entry errors, right? In regards to audits, pretty much every auditor in America has used Bill.com, and they're very familiar with how to go in there, and you can create them as an auditor role, and you can have them have access to your system and be able to uh, excuse me, hang on, I have to close my window. I've got a car alarm going off.
Of course. So while Jay's,
There we go. Sorry, it was
oh, you
right
got
there.
it?
A car alarm outside was going off, and I was like, oh, that's going to be really annoying as I
I
go
didn't
through
hear
here.
anything, by the way. So,
Okay, I know you couldn't, but for me, it was like my head couldn't
sure.
couldn't go through. But yeah, no, again, talking about just how we help the nonprofits, and again, it goes back to um, having an efficient staff, right? Having the ability to handle this volume with technology is going to make it so that um, you don't need 100, accountants to help you here. Anything else you want to add here, Bulin?
No, I would say that if I was an auditor, I would absolutely be
Hmm.
happy because, I would know that with tools like this, right, you can't circumvent processes because that's the configuration of these systems is to make sure your processes and policies are enforced, and it's making you enforce it, and there's audit trails and all of that, right? Which just makes audit, makes it easier for your auditors.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, when we talk about those inefficient financial operations, you've got your CFO, your controllers, your AP managers, and what we see again in this space is those grant managers, sometimes, fund managers, right? Where you need to be able to track the payments that are going out to the specific grant, which is really, really important, right? And JMT is so good at setting this up to establish that accounting solution so that when it comes time for audits, when it comes time to review these grants, you could see all of the costs that was associated with that grant, and it's seamless. Meaning, as bills come in, we're routing them, we're coding them to those specific grants, so that then when audits come, financial reports come, you don't have to go back in there and add those journal entries to those grants. Anything you want to add there?
Mm. Good. I want to be
Perfect.
careful with the time. I do want to make sure
Yeah.
we end up seeing the solutions that we've been talking about. So really quick, what ERP systems are you using today? And the reason we asked this is because Jay, you and I spoke, I think maybe a week ago or something, and we were just talking about how Bill can integrate with multiple solutions.
Hmm.
So these are some of the solutions I think I'm sorry, Sage Intact, right? um, QuickBook Online, this is QBO,
Hmm.
MIP, Dynamics, and not sure. So If everyone could just take a second, just respond to that polling questions to what system that you're on today. That would be good to know what systems our folks are on. Yay, look at that. Sage Intacct, not surprising because Sage Intacct is very well known in the nonprofit world. And are you surprised, Jay, with his results?
No, just knowing JMT and who you all interact with, I think that's exactly right. Um,
Yeah.
I'm surprised there was no dynamics. We used to see in the nonprofit space dynamics GP a lot.
Yeah.
Microsoft obviously is sunsetting that, so
Yeah.
maybe there's some going to Business Central, but I think many of them are going to Sage Intacct there.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a little bit too in regards to, how Bill is going to make you more efficient on the payment side. ACH is going to be that number one place. Again, kings of ACH there. If we have to do other types of payment methods, we can. We give you flexibility there. You'll be able to pay from anywhere, and really secure document management storage. So if you think about today when you're doing your check runs, right, and how long those check runs do, if you're actually doing those printed check runs, we're gonna cut that time down again and make you really, really secure. Also, vendors really like to get paid on our network. That's something that us as a company, I don't know if we talk about enough. We communicate where that money is in flight. We send ACH remittance emails. It's vendors really like it's free for those vendors to get paid. And that's where we're a little bit different than some other people in this space. If you send an ACH to that vendor, they pay nothing. They pay nothing to get paid on our platform. We don't say, okay, if you want to get paid, you have to sign up or anything like that. Now on virtual cards, they do have to process that virtual card. We opt them into that and they pay the transaction fee, but they have to opt into that and we don't force them to. We give them the option. But again, on the ACH side, we make it so easy for those vendors. Here is just a
I have a
quote.
question,
Sure.
Jay, on the last slide when
Mhm.
you're talking about payments, because I just came off of a meeting with a nonprofits that have
Mhm.
international operations,
Yeah,
and the question came up as to how does Bill handle these, if they need to send process international payments?
absolutely. And we've actually just created some added new technology to our system. So we're able to pay internationally via US dollar. If you want to pay in USD, and we charge 19.99 flat. Doesn't matter if you pay $1 billion or $1, it's 19.99. We can also pay in the vendor's local currency. So if you want to pay a Belgium vendor in euros, we can send them euros. There's no fee for that. We have an exchange rate, and our exchange rates are pretty competitive. And then we've introduced this new technology called local transfer, where we've partnered with some other technologies that have partnerships with all of these international banks. Sorry, that was a long sentence. But what's neat about it is any of those countries that are in our local transfer, and we have a lot, most all of Europe, um, the vendor will receive that money in their bank account like it came from inside of their country. So what we see a lot in the nonprofit space is they're paying these vendors internationally, and many times they're smaller vendors, or maybe they're 1099s, and they really struggle with these getting pinged on their side for these incoming international wire fees. With our local transfer, they wouldn't get that because it would look like it was coming from inside of the country with our partnerships. If you're interested in that, that takes a little bit more time to explain. Please reach out to Blue Ant or myself, and we'll be able to explain our local transfer option that we've just added there.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just quotes here on and misfiled or non-categorized bills. Going back to the vendors for additional copies, we eliminate all of that once you get on bill, right? Because you're going to have unlimited document storage. You'll have that inbox. You'll be able to pull them up at any time via sort of a Google-like search bar in our solution, and retrieve those documents. And and we've also added our spend and expense, which is a completely free tool where we offer corporate credit cards. One thing I'd like to highlight here is, if you're a nonprofit and you're struggling to capture receipts from your employees, this is a wonderful tool. It's a wonderful tool for two reasons. One, it's free. And two, we allow it right on your phones. So when I go to a trade show and I'm traveling for Bill.com and I swipe my card, the moment I swipe my card, my phone buzzes to take a picture of that receipt and complete the transaction. And then that syncs right into Intact or whichever accounting solution you're using. So this is a module that we've added. We purchased a company in 2002 called Divvy, and it's really great on the nonprofit side. We see it that and you get, we start at 1.5% cashback rebate. So again, you can kind of earn some cashback rewards that can be used for your organization to spend in areas that you need it, right? So spend and expense is also a module within our platform. We have combined them. It is one platform now. And so we did want to highlight that a little bit within this slide. I'm going to come back to our spend and expense side. Anything else there, Bulin, that you'd like to add? Actually, I think we have one more polling question, so I probably did that a little bit premature. So let's get to that polling question.
I
Sure.
do have a question. I do have a comment. I know you mentioned, Divi is free, and
Yep.
I personally don't think anything is free out there. But
It's not.
it's not, right?
It really is free, but we make our money the same way Amex makes our money, right? So this is
Yeah,
what the cards look like. They're Visas, and we make our money on the interchange.
yeah.
100%. Like we're not a nonprofit, right? So we do have to make money on it, but we've essentially added software with your card, okay? And it doesn't have to be a corporate credit line. We have prepaid options. Yeah, absolutely, we do make money on it, but it is free to use
Okay.
if you need to. Yeah, sorry.
And you do get points.
You get that cashback rebate, and we're really competitive there on the cashback rebate side. So if you have an organization that's doing some pretty good spend, you'll have quite a bit of cash back there at the end of the year.
So there are
Yeah.
two questions. I think we've
Mhm.
answered them. What about wire transfer via ACH?
Yeah,
Um, can you
great.
maybe talk a little bit about that?
100%. We do not have domestic wires as part of our solution. The reason is because we have our own ACH rails. We can do same day ACH. It's 9.99. So that's how because it's on our rails. So if you need to get payments to someone that day, you have the ability to do same day ACH, which would be the same timing as a wire. Now, there are some types of transactions, like real estate transactions, things like that, that require a domestic wire, and we understand that. You would just have to do that outside of the system. We don't have domestic wires. We only have international wires. Anything domestically that needs to go out same day, we do via ACH.
And then the next question says, are the fees for international transfer 19.99 per transaction?
Yeah, per payment. Per
Per
payment.
payment.
Again, that's only if you're doing it in US dollars. If you do it in the local currency of the vendor, there's no fee. There's an exchange rate.
Okay, that's good to know. And then when you say you start at 1.5%, and this is
Yeah.
the card, how high do you go, and what are the thresholds for spend and percentages?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our floor is 1.5. The cashback rebate can go up in a number of different ways. One of them is if you pay off the credit line bi-monthly instead of just monthly. I believe if you just choose to pay off twice in the month, you can get that up to 1.6 just right off the bat, just if you're paying it down more, right? And that I don't think there's any thresholds or anything like that. As you keep going up, there is the ability to get that rate higher. They don't communicate that to me. They don't let me know that. That would be a rep that would have to do it. We don't have set thresholds. A lot of it has to do with um, where you're spending, how much you're spending, how often you're spending. Are you always spending $100,000 a month? We do have some flexibility to try to get that rate up to win your business. We don't have, I promise you, we don't have anything internally that says if you spend this, it's this. It's always a case by case basis, but you'll have more leverage with us, and I'm transparent about this, if you have higher spend, right? Or if you're spending it at certain categories. For example, the interchange we make at a Kroger is less than, SaaS software, right? If you're buying SaaS software. And I don't understand the mechanics there on why it is or different, but I just know what they tell me. So we do have the ability to talk about that rate. And that's where you just have to contact someone and we'll tell you, hey, this is where we think we can get the rate to. But right off the back, we're 1.5.
And there's a question about 9.99, like $9.99 per payment. What is that? Was there a
Sorry, that's only for same day ACH. Our regular ACH is 59 cents. So if you do regular ACH, it's 59 cents. If you need to do a same day ACH, like a wire, like a domestic wire, that's when it's 9.99.
okay, and are the Divvy cards for business corporation credit card expenses, does it work internationally?
The cards do work internationally, yes.
Okay, that's good. And then I think this is the last questions. In regards to internal control, can you discuss how robust the fund allocation uh, uh, capacity is or capability is? I think it's meant to say a capability is critical for nonprofits with
Yeah.
government contract. Many invoices are cost allocated.
Yes, we'll get into that. Absolutely. And we'll
Right.
talk
Thank
about
you.
that. So we'll get into that when we look at the solution. We'll go right into that actually. Let's do this last poll and we'll actually get our hands on the software.
Terrific. What expense management system are you using today? You could be using an expense management within the ERPs. I know Sage has one since a lot of folks here are on Sage. Um, or manual. So that's, you're doing it in Excel. Or you might be using, I'm going to use Divi. I'm so used to calling it Divi.
I still call it
It's-
Divvy. Totally okay. The cards are still Divvy cards when they come through. It says Divvy on them.
Okay, and then other third-party solutions, um, and then or not sure. So we'll see what folks are using today. All right, there you go.
Perfect.
So things kind of spread out evenly across.
Absolutely. All right. Let's jump into Bill.com, right? Let's spend time, and I've been talking for too long. They've logged me out. Let's spend time in the solution. There's a couple things I want to address. I know a lot of you all on the call might be familiar with Bill. So I do want to highlight some new things that you might be unaware of. For those who have never seen Bill before, this will be a primer. And I know that word primer gets used a lot in business presentations, but it really will be a primer because we'd love to spend 45 minutes, 30 minutes actually showing you the in-depth, the details of the solution, especially all of our modules. Meaning, I'd love to talk through accounts receivable. Now, in the nonprofit space, that's not as big of a deal, but we have accounts receivable options too. Spend and expense is a module within the same platform. Payables and receivables are here. We're a web-based solution. We'll work with any browser that you prefer. We do have mobile apps as well. Um, and we'll have roles in the system depending on if you're AP, accountant, clerk, things like that. You'll be able to view different things. And we provide aging buckets there that kind of show where those bills exist. If there's bills in specific approvers queues, you'll see those here, and we age those, right? So Alan's got two that have been in there for more than 10 days. What's nice about Bill is your approvers, if you require approvers, have the ability to set their notifications, how often they want the system to be notifying them, right? Whether it's daily, weekly, or if they want to get pinged every time a bill comes through. We'll provide some more dashboards here on aging summaries and vendors paid. And then we give each user that fun taskbar, right? What do you need to take action that day? Do you have bills that are overdue? Do you have bills that have been denied? Do you have payment approvals, etc.? And these are quick links that take you directly to those actionable items. I want to spend a lot of time on our inbox because we've mentioned it about, we were one of the first to kind of create this idea of an accounts payable inbox where vendors can send you invoices via email. We're grabbing them and we're capturing them. So every bill.com account has its own email address. Anything that gets sent here will wind up in our inbox. If you have an AP email address, keep it. You don't have to change it when you adopt bill.com. You can just create forwarding rules in Outlook or in Gmail, and anything that comes through the system, we will automatically capture and start reading. There's no templates that you need to create. There's no setup here. We're going to bring your vendors in from Intact, from your accounting solution. And then when bills come in, we're going to intelligently match them. This is where our AI is. Okay. We've had OCR, optical character recognition technology, for 20 years. We've had machine learning for a long time. And just recently, we've introduced AI. I think I was telling somebody the other day, again, I've been with Bill for 3 years. When I first started, if we miss something on a PDF and you used our click and capture feature, which I'm demonstrating here, click and click again, that helped our machine learning learn the document. And it would take about 4 or 5 times, sometimes 6 or 7 times to learn your tendencies. I've been testing with our new AI, and many times it's just one time, right? That's the difference between the OCR machine learning versus what AI can bring with these large language models and things like that. We're getting much better, and we're going to continue to get better, right? So there is AI in the system that will automatically capture details. And this is going to keep expanding. Sorry, go ahead, Bulin. Did you have anything to
Yeah,
add
it's
there?
the objective that I know you just showed the click and click here and click there, but it's the objective that at some point you don't even use that click, right? It
Yes.
just
Yeah.
scan that and just strip out that data and put it into.
Absolutely. And a lot of that's already in the system, right? And in regards to we're becoming so much more accurate around capturing the details that you're seeing here. Um, and it learning your tendencies if you correct it, right? So if the amount was wrong and I wanted to say, okay, I want to start clicking this, then the next time that bill comes through from Hacienda Design, it will learn those
Mm,
tendencies. Where this is going, though, is exactly right. We already are experimenting with AI agents here. We're going to roll that out hopefully in the next year, before the end of the year. We have in beta right now line level OCR, right? Where we're capturing the details off of the actual line level. Right now, we intelligently code the bill based on the previous bill that came through the invoice. In the future, you'll have AI agents where you can build, hey, when you see a line that says marketing, you're coding it to marketing, right? And we have that and we're experimenting that, and we will be rolling that out this year. This is where we're going to place a lot of our AI features so that we're eliminating more and more data entry for your teams, right? And for your organizations. And we've had the ability to line level OCR for a long time, but it was never accurate enough that we felt it was good to be at scale. Okay. With AI, that's changing the ball game. That's changing the ball game. And you're going to hear us talk more and more about that, as you are hearing that with every other software solution. But our platform is perfect for this AI tool to keep expanding that data entry elimination. Okay. Some other things about the inbox too is there's other ways to get documents into the system. It's not just email. You can drag and drop invoices right in, which I'll do here, and you'll see that our artificial intelligence will extract that. It gives us a little extraction message, and when it's fully extracted, it will populate. And that's how fast it can go in real time. If it is a duplicate, we will identify it as a duplicate. And then you also can create a bill even if you don't have a document. So you can start typing and reviewing those bills if you want. And again, if you want to drag and drop, we can see that extraction and that AI work in real time, right? So if we give it just a second here, It will then fill out that information that we need for that vendor. We have the ability to see the vendors that are here. We also give you really nice vendor onboarding tools. So if that vendor doesn't exist in Intact, we're going to tell you. We're syncing with Intact every 24 hours or whenever you sync, hit the sync button in bill.com. So we're going to tell you, hey, this vendor doesn't exist, but there's a vendor that's on our network that looks like it's a match. Is this a match? And then you can auto add it, and there's no, we'll bring in the address and things like that. So you make a vendor onboarding really easy too. I wanted to get back to the coding information because I want to talk about making sure that things are allocated correctly to these dimensions or to these funds or grants, right? And I'll pause there and sort of talk about our sync with, I'm just going to use Intact, for example. All of your dimensions come over, the departments, the location, the classes, the employees. We also work with up to 6 custom dimensions. And in many cases, that grant field can either be a custom dimension or maybe you use classes or things like that. So those sync over and have two-way sync within Bill and Intact so that when a bill is coming through, if I need to allocate out to a different GL account to a different fund, that will be available here. You can do arithmetic in our cells. So if you want to do 800 divided by 2 and calculate, it'll calculate that. You also can use that click and capture here to split out. So we want to make it, again, really easy for you to allocate this across your funds and grant management, because when we push this bill back into Intact, it will be in Intact automatically. The bill will be coded and you're ready to go.
And if we need to have we may have two different person that's managing that contract or that grant. When it's allocated like that across different contract or grant, those respective sections will be routed, for approval.
Absolutely.
That's my understanding.
Such a good point. Those are what we call bill approval policies, right? And we'll do one here in real time. You can see I've already got a rule that has been set that's routed the bill to the executive team because I have a rule that says Hasina design has to go to the executive team. You can have approvers and approval groups, and you can assign to these specific groups. But like what you said, Bulen, if you want to automatically route specific, departments or location, we're going to change this to catering, and you're going to see my name got added to the bill automatically by the system. And that's because Jay is in charge of catering. So he has to be the one that approves that bill. Um, you're 100% right in that you'll be able to set these policies based on these fields that we sync with Intact. And then they'll automatically get routed that bill for approval. Our mobile app is where most of our approvals happen. So it's really easy for those fund managers, for those grant managers to open up their phone, view the bills that they need to approve, make sure it's allocated right. Make sure it's allocated to the correct funds, look at those GLs. They can view the image of the bill there. They can add any notes if they need to. If they deny the bill, we have to get a note from them. They have to present us a note and they can approve that bill. Another thing that's kind of convenient is if they can't get access to a scanner, they can shoot that document with their phone, and now it's in bill.com. Perfect. And I know we're in the last 10 minutes here. So I want to talk about that in a very fast overview is how we're going to do that first aspect of eliminating data entry and getting them into your accounting solution. Capturing those PDFs, those JPEGs, those PNG files, making sure they're coded correctly, trying to eliminate a lot of that data entry and getting them approved. Once they're in the accounting solution, that's where you'll be able to pay those from within our system. And you'll be able to filter those bills under your unpaid bills here. And you could filter based on vendor approval. Many times our clients go in and say, hey, give me all the bills that are due in the next 30 days. Give me all the bills that are due in the next 7 days. From here, you select them all, you hit pay. It's that easy. Now, we'll talk about it. There's more to it than that. but we will facilitate those payments and we're syncing those payments back into your accounting solution. What's really convenient about Bill is you can have multiple bank accounts here you can choose to pay from. So I have different bank accounts connected to Bill.com. And when you hear me talk about segregation of duties, this is really important. We have our SOC 1, SOC 2, and um, segregation of duties are so important in regards to that, but just in general. And what that means is we want to make sure whoever is moving this money, whoever is making payments, has the authority to do it. So in Bill, when you connect a bank account, you also stipulate who are the bank authorized users. What that means is even if you're an admin in the system, if you weren't added as a bank authorized user, you won't be able to make any payments from that bank account. So there's two levels of security to move money. You have to have the role and you have to have bank authorization access in the system. Also, you could set your workflow up so that only approved bills can be paid if you need to. And then Bill.com is going to suggest a process date based on the due date so that we can deliver that payment on or before the due date. And we do that via e-payment or ACH, right? That's what we call ACH. The neat part about Bill is when you bring those vendors over from Intact, we tell you which of those vendors already exist in our network. So when I was talking about like kind of the Facebook thing, this is it. So when you add those vendors, our algorithm will run and match them to vendors on our network. And we will say, hey, these vendors look like they're already on our network. Do you want to connect with them? Boom, boom, boom. You connect with them. Now you're paying them via ACH without having to know their bank information or without them having to share their bank information. You can invite them to join the network. It's completely free. Say, hey, we're using Bill.com to pay you. Create a free account so you don't have to share your bank information with me and we'll pay them. Where we're a little different than some other like platforms that are similar is even if they don't want to join our network, you could go to a vendor's profile. Bristol Transport might call you up and say, hey, I want to be paid via ACH, but I'm not a big fan of Jay over there. Here is my routing number. Here's my account number. I don't want to have to join any network. No problem. You can enter their routing number. You can enter their account number. That's just private to you. We don't share that. It gets encrypted, and now you're paying them via ACH. Same speed, same way. So they don't have to be on our network. They can just give you their information. We've also added the ability to help collect W-9s from them, where we'll send a W-9 request. And just this year, we have started to file 1099s for our clients. So you can actually do,
Yay.
yeah, you can actually do electronic filing in Bill.com for your 1099s. We currently only have MISC and NEC. We're looking to expand that.
Okay. There's a question, in terms of payment, does Bill work with all banks?
Yes, all US based banks.
All
And
US-based banks.
we
Got it.
don't work with international banks at the moment. We're working on that. You can connect that bank account via Plaid. Or if your bank, like there's some that are really small that aren't on Plaid, we can do the old school 1990s micro deposits where we send two like different deposits and you verify those deposits and then now we're connected.
Okay, and then the next question is, can we use Bill.com with MX or any other card providers, or do we need to switch to the Divvy card? I
It's a
guess.
good question. Like from the AP side, you do not need to have our cards. We have a lot of clients that just use Bill with their bank account, and that's fine. And actually, you can add credit cards to pay from, and those can be any cards like American Express, things like that.
Mhm.
If we pay a bill, and this is a little confusing because this is not common, but if you want to pay a bill with your Amex through our accounts payable, you can. We'll fund the payment with the card, but there is a fee for that. But most of our AP clients will just use their bank accounts when they're paying bills. Maybe you paid this with your Amex. In Bill.com, you have the ability to click Mark as paid and choose that Amex GL, right? Hey, I paid this with my Amex, and we'll sync it into Intact. So you don't have to have our cards. Where our cards are is if you want to use that spend and expense software, where we'll help track your receipts, you do need our cards there. That you do have to have our cards for. So if you're looking to help use Bill.com to track the receipts, you do need to be on our card program. Where like, and I don't have anything against these like a Concur is a standalone software that you pay for and you can use any card you want. We would be very similar to that, but we bring the Concur and the Amex together, right? And it's the card and the software. And that's on the spend and expense side. But on the AP side, you do not have to use our credit cards. It's a good question.
Okay. And how do you get the GL posting date?
Yeah, absolutely. On the bill or on the payment?
Um, let's start with the bill.
So on the bill, we have a specific field here.
That's good.
So like on Intact, like you can have an invoice date where you change the posting date. That posting date syncs over. So meaning like if you want this to post in a different window in Intact, you could just change that field. On the payment side, it's based on the process date. So the process date is when we post that payment. You
Okay.
could schedule these process dates out whatever you want. So they're all the same. So if I want to schedule this the 8th, that process date is the date in which we pull the funds from your bank account. So that's the payment date in Intact.
Okay. And the last question, if we can really quickly, because we're running out of time,
Sure.
what does the reporting capabilities look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So in regard, we have a couple options there. Some, if you just need your bills, you can always filter this out and get this in CSV or in Excel. At any point in Bill.com, you have the ability to pull your raw data out. I'm an Excel guy. I would rather have, and this is just my opinion. I would rather have my raw data than in a report, in like a structured report, if that makes sense, just because I want to go do whatever I want with it in Excel. So like if you want all of your bills, you can create an export here and you can actually modify your mapping and things like that and get your all raw data and do whatever you want with. Okay. So that's always at your fingertips. We also have out of the box reports, right? And we'll review some of those here when I jump back. But just I know there's a lot of accountants on the room. Accountants love to have that raw data. We give it to you.
Yeah.
The out of the box reports are right here. So you'll have your bill payments reports, your unpaid bills, aging reports. The most used report is this one right here. And this is our funds transfer detailed report. This is what makes reconciliation a breeze because you can run this report and you'll be able to see what bills were specifically paid. The total here will match the total on your bank account. And so now you're reconciling many to one instead of many to many. And again, when we go through a demo, we'll go through a little bit more of that detail, but that's the most common reports. But we do have canned reports in the system that you can run as well as getting that raw data. And then you always have access to every payment you've ever made. Okay. And that's from this window as well. And again, you can customize those columns, download that CSV in Excel, and actually see the in-flight status of that payment from takeoff to landing. Front and backs of checks are here as well.
All right, that's great. So I think we're running out of time there. Unfortunately, we can't get through all of the questions here. This is great. It's great that folks are asking all these questions, but what we will make sure is to we'll reach out back to you and make sure your questions are answered. Can we bring up the PowerPoint again? I think we have
Sure.
one. We have one last polling questions. So this is our fourth polling question. So just want to make sure we get through all four polling questions. So we won't show these questions. We can just skip these questions. But let's move to another slide. So I just wanted to make sure there, we do populate that last polling question. So I think this is it. I mean, we've our hours is up, but I just wanted to let everyone know that we are very active when it comes to our webinars. And just wanted to, if you're not sure where to uh, register them at our website, at GMT Consulting website, there's an event tab which will have access to all this presentation. So very exciting. There's a lot happening in May and in June. We're starting to fill out June as well. So if you're interested in any of these, please register for our upcoming webinars. But But before we go, I'd like to thank everyone for attending our presentation. Thank you so much, Jay, for this great presentation. I know I've learned a lot. Hopefully, everyone else also learned a little bit from this presentation. So,
Yeah,
um,
no, thank you. And thank you so much to the JMT team. We love working with you. Thanks for having us.
thank you. Thanks, everyone. See you
Bye,
soon.
everyone. Thanks.
Bye bye.